Hey everyone, welcome to Decode Unit. Today we will see how we can use UITableView programmatically in Swift iOS. For that, I have created a simple project. So before diving into the code, let's understand what is UITableView. So UITableView is a component in UIKit which allows us to create rows of vertically scrollable content in a single column. So it will take the screen's width, or we can also keep it according to our need, but it is sure that it will have a vertical scrollable content only and not in horizontal. For horizontal, you may have to use UI collection view. For this video, we will just see how we can set up a UI table view in the simplest way possible. So let's create the table view now. First, we will create its instance. This will be a private like table view, UI table view, name 0, style as grouped. Okay. Now we have created instance. For further setup, we will add this inside our view controller studio, right? Now to render this, now we have added the view inside the view control, but its position is not set. So that's why we have to set its frame for the table that where it will locate on the screen. So for that, the simplest way would be to do this in loaded layout subviews, call it super implementation, and then just set the table views frame as our views bounds. This will take all the views bounds as for the table views frame. Now, once we do that, our table view is set up, but the content inside the table view is not set. And in order to give the data for the table view, we need to set a property of data source on the table view. It is a delegate property, so we will need to conform to its methods. I prefer doing this in an extension from the view controller. The delegate is UI table view data source. For that, there are two methods. First is for number of rows in the section. For now, we will just return something as 10. And another method is cell for row add, which will be returning the UI table view cell for our table view. So I think that is it. We can run the app and see if we are able to see any kind of table view. So here we are able to see that these 10 rows that we have set up in the table view, that there is no content right now because we haven't configured our cells to define any content. For that, what we can do is we can create a cell here and configure it to render the view. So by default, we have some configuration that we can set on your table view cell itself. For that, we need to create a config of UI list, UI list content configuration dot cell. And on this config, we can set a text property, which will be acting as a title for that cell. So for now, let's give it some title, dummy title, and that is it. Now, and we need to assign this config to cells content configuration config, right? And that is it. We should be able to see the title in our rows. Here you can see that we are able to see some content on the cells. Now this is the least, this is the simplest way you can configure any table view with some content in it. If we want to show some custom data on this, we will need to configure these methods according to that custom data. So we can do so by creating a custom data. I have copied an array of strings, and this is simply an array of strings. As you can see, we'll access this array here by to return the count of how many rows we will need, and for each row we need to fill in this data string. So we can do so by accessing the data data using index path dot row. Now, since it is an integer, it will just return us the uh, index on which the cell is present so that we can access the data and accordingly set it to the configuration. And if we run this, we will see that all of this content from this array is shown inside our table. Now, one additional thing I want to show here is when we click on the cells, the cell gets highlighted, but it does not go away if, unless we are clicking on some another cell, right? But like you might want this behavior, but most of the times we don't want this behavior. We just want it to uh, just want the highlight to go away as soon as we click, and within few time, like within few milliseconds, we want it to go away, right? So for that, what we can do here is whenever we want to interact with the table view cells, we need to set the table views delegate property and confirm its method to perform any kind of operations, interactions on the cell. So for this table view, this delegate property, we need to confirm it to the UI table view delegate protocol. For this, now we can run this without conforming to any method, but in our case, we want to use it to deselect the row, deselect the cell as soon as we are clicking on that, as soon as we are selecting the cell. So there is a property of did select item or did select a row at, which will get called whenever cell is selected, and it will give us the index path of that cell. So what we can simply do here is we can call it the table view. On it, we can call a method of deselect a row at the index path that we received, only method as true, and this will simply do what? This will make the highlight go away after we tap on it, right? So whenever we are selecting it, call gets in this did select row at method, and we are deselecting that row. We can perform any other operations inside this in here, anything we want to do, but as we are deselecting the row, the highlight will go away, and that is the behavior we want. There is one more optimization that we should be doing and which is preferred in setting up a table view is reusing the UI table view cells instead of creating new every time. The reason for this is when we have, let's say, 100 or 1000 entries in our table view and we are creating UI table view cell for each time, it will take too much memory to render the table view. Hence, UITableView maintains an internal queue which will store the cells which can be reused later. So whenever we are scrolling the content, the cells which are going out of the visible content get stored in that queue, and the new cells coming onto the screen are rendered by dequeuing that queue of reusable cells and reuse thereby efficiently reusing the cells instead of creating new ones, making the rendering efficient and also consume less memory. And we can do so by registering the table view with that cell. We can do this by table view. There is a register method of cell class, and our uh, cell class is UI table view cell. We will give it time, and we have to give a reuse identifier. Let's give it unique cell, and here whenever we are returning the cell, instead of creating a new one, what we will do, we will call a method on table view of dequeue that reusable cell with identifier as my unique id, unique cell, and index path, and that is it. If we just run it, we will not see any difference in this view, but we know that we are dequeuing the cell from the table views internal queue and using that to re-render or reuse the cell to show the content. So that is it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.